Are we on? Okay, we're not on until your laptop is put away. Your laptop. Laptop.
I distinctly said that when we were walking out. Good. It's next to you every time. So. Yes, he did. There's no excuse, man. No excuse.
Are you about done?
Every time we go to class.
Okay, let's get started.
Okay. Good. Good. We were done with class. You gotta go over there. Good.
Shh. Okay, welcome. Week 4. How time flies. Anybody got any questions at all about any of the material, your projects, anything? Okay, great. So, that's questions. So we have the standard forms again here. And by now you should, it looks like everybody knows to fill out the attendance form, and we have a meet with Dave form, and everybody should have a half-sheet evaluation form, including community members. You're all welcome to fill that out. Okay. We have a new form. This is the carpool driver's sign-up sheet. So our first field trip is a week from Thursday. We're going to the VA Medical Center. And since I don't have a car big enough to handle all of you, we count on community members and students to carpool to the VA, which is about maybe 5 miles away. So if you have a car and willing to drive, please sign up here. This is for drivers. There'll be a separate form later on for passengers to sign up with drivers. So I'm just going to pass this around. And there will be maps and instructions and stuff like that. So this is a week from Thursday. Yes?
Is that at the same time as regular class?
Yes. Yeah, so the plan is we will meet, you know where the Littlefield Center building is over here? You know, it's sort of by the Oval.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a road that comes up there that will have all the people who are driving sort of meet up there, and the passengers will meet up with their drivers, and I'll have directions from there how to get to the VA. It's basically down El Camino, up Page Mill, and then left turn on to Foothill Expressway and Miranda. So I'll have all that ready for you. Haven't lost anybody yet. So yes. Yeah. There's always stragglers, but I'm sure you just sign up for a person that has a fast car like me. Got a new car, 6-speed turbo, you know. Yeah. Well, you know, it's going to take some time to get there. We're going to convene in a room, and then once we're all together, we'll hear from several people there. Yes. Yeah, so there are some people that said, I really need to get back early. So if you really, really, really have to get back early, that's where you sign up for that. And hopefully there'll be some people, some drivers that be able to go back early. Okay. But you'll be, you know, if you don't have anything, it's well worthwhile. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Is it? I'll talk more about this because, you know, it's a new procedure, but it's worked in the past, so I have every confidence that it's going to work this year. There'll be a second field trip later in the quarter to the Magical Bridge Playground, which will be awesome. Okay. Excellent. Oh, so here's Littlefield. So we're here, here's Littlefield, and we'll meet on the other side. There's an arch in the middle here, as you see. And then on the other side, the road comes up here, and there's some parking around here, and I think that's a good pickup spot. Okay? And we can get, you know, back onto Palm Drive and El Camino to get there. Okay? Easy. Oh, so Somebody asked me, does the VA do their own prosthetics fitting? And the answer is yes. And so here's some evidence of that. Okay? Somebody else asked a question, which I haven't got an answer to yet, that, okay, prosthetic legs cost a lot of money. How do people who don't have money but need a prosthetic leg afford something? And I'll find out. I'll tell you. Okay? So team projects, again, I've talked about this before, but it's probably good for you to know what's expected for the midterm presentation. So I hope you'll be able to do all these activities. You connect with your project person and understand the problem part of it, and do some brainstorming, select design concepts using that spreadsheet that we talked about last time, work on some sketches, make some low resolution prototypes to show. And if you do all that, you're in good shape for your presentation. You can certainly go further, do several prototypes of using low resolution materials, and that'll be great. Okay? Yes? Week 6, so Thursday of week 6. So that's 2 weeks from Thursday. Okay. And the next slide shows that. Okay, so it's not too early to think about how you would organize your presentation and your paper. The presentation comes first on that Thursday, and the paper is due like the next week. Okay. So the handout I gave you at the beginning, the first class session, has a good outline of what you should be presenting and how you should format your report. So look through that and let me know if you have any questions. Okay. So today I'm going to go with the number 1 discussion topic. So this is ethical moral dilemmas related to disability, informally called Fun with Ethics. So it's not really fun. Ethics are sort of unusual to engineers because there's no right answer. Everybody has an opinion on these things. There's sometimes a lot of controversy. People are on both sides of an issue. But what I want to say is that it's basically making a decision on something, and everybody makes decisions every day. You know, sometimes the decisions are easy. You know, what am I going to wear today? What am I going to eat? You know, am I going to sleep in and not go to my first class? You know, sometimes decisions are bad decisions. But as one gets older, sometimes the decisions are more meaningful. You know, like where am I going to work? Am I going to take this job offer? Am I going to move to this city or that city? Am I going to get married? Am I going to have a kid? And so on and so on. But even more, if you guys going to Stanford are all going to be in leadership roles when you graduate, right? So you're going to be in charge of people, and you're going to have to evaluate people for hiring them. You're going to be in a leadership role for writing reports and looking at resumes and grant proposals and stuff like that. So you're going to make a lot of tough decisions as you're in your professional life, and these are going to affect people, right? Say like you're starting a new company, who do you hire, who do you fire, stuff like that. So these are tough decisions, and how do you make them? I mean, it's not always easy. So people make decisions by using a lot of different factors, including, you know, how you were brought up. You know, that might have a bearing on what kind of a decision you make. You know, especially related to relationships and stuff like that. Economics, cost, religion. You know, what the law is, what's your individual notion of what is right, your political background, and your past personal experience. So you bring all these to bear on these decisions. So what I'm going to show you is a bunch of mostly real problems. And we have a little time for discussion, but not a lot. So if you have a feeling about some of these situations, let me know one way or another, okay? So here's the first one. Would it be wrong for a normal couple to abort a fetus that's been diagnosed with dwarfism or Down syndrome? So on one side of it, you know, every couple wants a healthy kid, and maybe dwarfism or Down syndrome doesn't qualify as healthy. But then again, we've heard stories about, you know, kids with dwarfism or Down syndrome who are a loving part of the family. So, but this is a decision that a couple might have to make. Is anybody willing to offer a opinion one way or another, or have some experience with this? Okay, tough issue, right? Do you agree with that at least? Okay. Right. So, so this is a big controversy that's going on now, and you know, a sort of related thing is that maybe you can diagnose a fetus that's going to have Down syndrome or some other disabling conditions. So as we learn more about the human body and how fetuses develop, maybe we can figure out how to identify and cure these diseases. So that's worth looking at. Huh?
I love the flipping.
Oh, okay. So what if two parents who have an inherited form of dwarfism and are dwarfs themselves wanted a child that looked like them, a dwarf kid? Would it be wrong for them to terminate a normal-sized fetus? Another question. Is there a right answer to this? It depends on what your morals are and stuff like that. But there have been parents that have dwarf parents that have normal-sized kids, and they're typically healthy kids, so that's a factor in the decision. Should everyone have the right to bear arms? Well, it's a part of the Constitution, and so maybe that's correct, but some people maybe go overboard a little bit about this. But should somebody who is blind have a right to bear arms? Okay, that's a little bit different story. So here's some cartoons I saw, and the middle one says, the NRA guy says, "Arm the blind." Okay, imagine that. But then on the right, I found this blind sportsman who shot this deer from 120 yards, and he's totally blind. Okay? And then last year, I had a student in class, Kartik, who was blind, and he said, yes, I would want to have the right as a blind person to bear arms, to have a gun or a firearm. So you know, there's both sides on all these issues. There's two sides to it. Okay, but interesting to think about. Okay, so imagine you're a biomedical engineer, you're working in a spinal cord injury ward, and an occupational therapist comes up to you and says, we have this post-polio, well, he's a quadriplegic, and he's been a smoker, and he's an older person, and he wants to be able to smoke independently. Can you come up with a device that will enable him to do that? And this actually happened, not with a quadriplegic, but with a post-polio person that I knew, and I think there are some veterans at the VA who might have had this device in the upper right, which is a place to put a tube to put a cigarette in, and the end of the tube goes to the mouth, so the person can smoke a cigarette remotely and have the ashes fall into that ashtray. Okay? And there was even, I remember when I worked at the VA, the chief of inhalation therapy, who was in charge of all those respirators, she was a smoker. And that seemed sort of strange to me. Okay? Okay, here's another one. You're a sign language interpreter for a deaf woman, and her communication includes a lot of obscenities, which causes you a lot of embarrassment and distress. What do you do? Do you not translate those obscenities? Do you refuse to translate for that woman? what do you do? Well, there is sort of an answer to this one. Sign language interpreters are supposed to interpret verbatim, what is sent to them, okay? Do you know why this picture in the lower right is significant? Who remembers this picture? Stanford?
Is that a person that kind of pretended to be
So this is guy, I forgot where the venue was, if it was in Africa or someplace, but this guy was the sign language interpreter, but he wasn't really an interpreter. He was just making random gestures, and he was like right next to the president. So, I mean, that's sort of scary.
Wait, so he wasn't really a...
No, he just passed himself off as a sign language interpreter.
Wow, and that wasn't being
Yeah.
investigated?
Yeah, that's a big security issue.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, as a surgeon, would you approve a heart transplant for somebody with a disability? So this goes to the root of, what is the worth of a person with a disability? And it could be any disability, or it could be an older adult, same thing. But I think they do transplants for people with disabilities. So, but I don't think there's laws in that regard. So I'm not quite sure if there's a legal requirement to do that or not. I don't know for sure how this is done. Okay. As a concerned citizen, would you condone the marriage and parenthood of a couple, one or both of whom have developmental disabilities? Would a person with developmental disabilities have enough skill and independence and to take care of a newborn kid and be a parent throughout their lives? Big issue. Obviously, I have some pictures here, and there's people who have done it. But these are really tough situations, right? But you might encounter them, as you become a professional. Okay. Anybody have any comments on any of this stuff, or have another situation that we should consider? No. Okay. So Thursday, Mateo, where's Mateo? He's right here. Remember him from, he's going to be talking to us on improving indoor environments for older adults. So stay tuned for that on Thursday. But today we're going to have, from the past, we're going to have Sha Yao talk about her product that started out as a student project and design competition winner, funded online, and now is a product. She's unfortunately out of the country in China. So what we're going to do is I have her video from last year, which we're going to play along with her slides, because the message there is really important. How we want to hear about a success story of somebody who has designed something from the ground up and been successful in getting it to market. So this is the story that we'll hear after a break. Okay. You can turn that off.